Mem of Torah Ohr. We're in the middle of a maimer, which is actually a beer, an explanation on the previous maimer from Daf Ches, explaining on the pasuk hamagbihi lashaves hamashpili lires, that Hashem sits on high and he descends down to see. And we explained that these are the two types of avodah. There's ascending up into the spiritual and to the godly, and bringing down the godly into our world. So that's the sitting on high. On high is going up, whereas mashpili is descending down. Which is through Torah we bring Hashem down into the world, whereas through mitzvahs and davening we elevate upwards. So now the pasuk says hamagbihi, with the ending with the yud. It could have said hamagbiha, so it's an extra yud at the end, and that extra yud is there because what is the sphere, which is the source of giving over to below and to consider the possibility of anything outside of Hashem. So that's Malchut, because the first 9 spheres, both with Hashem and the same within people, are internal. Even kindness is a trait that you could have internally. Malchus is when you actually act on it, you speak, you do, and care for the recipient. So therefore, Malchus then is the Dalit. Dalit is a letter in the Aleph base, which relates to Makabel, the recipient. Gimel actually is the giver, Gemel, and Dalim is the recipient. Dal means poor, because Malchus doesn't have anything of its own. It only receives from the first 9 spheres. And then when you add a Yud to Malchus, so then the Dalit becomes the Hey. The left leg of the Hey is a Yud, an upside down Yud, and therefore the Yud at the end of hamagbihi is adding to the impact of the mitzvah that adds a Yud to the Malchus, and then changes Malchus from just being a Dalit to being a Hey. Dalit is the regular Malchus within worlds, even in the highest world, the world of Atzilus, which is close to Hashem, but still within worlds. Whereas Hey is when Malchus elevates beyond all worlds, Malchus within Hashem's infinite light. And now in Zohar, it talks about the word Yehi, based on the pasuk Yehi Shem, that we say in Hallel and in the davening in the paragraph Yichvod, that Yehi Shem Hashem Mevarach, may Hashem's name be blessed. This word Yehi is an interesting word. It's made up of Yud, then Hey, then Yud. What's the meaning of this? In Kabbalah, Yud is wherever there's a tzimtzum, wherever there's a limitation of Hashem's light. When do you have that? You have that number one, you have that, well, it's always going to be where there's a lot of light, there's an abundance, and it's too much for where we're going down to, and therefore it has to be limited. So that happens in Chachma, because Chachma is the first time that the subconscious, the inner self, talks to the conscious mind. And therefore you have a contraction, a limitation, and therefore the Chachma is a Yud. Then Hey is Bina. Bina is about development of the idea. Yud is the idea that strikes your mind, that you notice for the first time, this idea that came from the inner self, the subconscious. And then the Bina is developing. So Bina is a Hey, it's expansive. And then we go through all the spheres, through the emotions, love and reverence, mercy, or chesed, word, tiferes, netzach, victory, etc., height, humility, and then we get to Yesod. And the Yesod is where the person, or the same, or the what it really reflects is with Hashem. It takes all the previous energies and previous styles and puts it together in one sort of. Now, what's the practical bottom line for Malchus? Because Malchus is going to act on it. And therefore, when you move from going through all the spheres to Malchus, where it's about the bottom line and acting, you have another Yud. And therefore, Yesod is also a Yud. Now, in terms of the body, Chachma and Bina both, of course, in the head, and then within the torso we've got Chesed and Gvura, the right and left arm, or in other places the shoulders, or in others upper, and then Tiferes, the main part of the torso, and then Netzach lower down, and especially Yesod is the actual bris. In some places it's Netzach train Bain. But Yesod is the bris, and then because that's all about it's about hashpa, it's about giving over, and then Malchus is the recipient. So in Zohar it says, so this Yehi is because of Chachma, Bina, and Yesod, and this allows Hashem's light, and the same thing, the counterpart is with people, but it allows Hashem's light to come down. And that's why in the Asar Mamaris, the 10 utterances Hashem said to create the world, they are in this format: Yehi Yehi Rakia. Everything is Yehi. Hashem, well, not everything, but many of them are Yehi, that let there be, because this is the Hashem's light coming down, Chachma, Bina, all the way to Yesod, and then Malchus. And this is like this concept of of starting off small, starting off with the Yud, is like when a new wellspring starts off. So near its source, it's small, it's just a trickle, and then with time it develops into a big river. So that's like Chachma's the little trickle. It's a lot. It's the whole idea, but you get it in short, and then Bina is more expansive. And so that's also why Pinchas, who killed Cosby and Zimri, so he has the extra Yud in his name. It's because he was fighting for the Yud of Yesod, of the bris, to be whole. And in elsewhere it explains as well in the Ramaz that Yud is, as we discussed yesterday, that there's different ways to spell out Hashem's full name. If you spell out the letters, Yud is Yud Vav Daled, then the first Hey could be spelled different ways. Is it Hey Aleph, Hey Hey, or Hey Yud? So therefore there's different gematrias of Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, depending on how you spell out the milui, the sort of letters that you pronounce but are not actually written. Like Yud, you write as Yud, but it's pronounced Yud Vav Dalet, etc. So in Shem Ab, which is the highest of the four spellings, because each represent a different spiritual energy, so you have the Heys are spelt Hey Yud and Hey Yud. Similarly, the Vav is spelled Vav Yud Vav. So that spelling is Shem Ab, it equals the numerical value of 72. And those Yuds represent Chachma, and Chachma has a special connection to Yesod, the highest level. Chachma connects with Yesod, which is at the bottom, where it's actually giving over the hashpa, what we're giving over, that influence we're trying to have. And therefore, because Chachma goes all the way down to Yesod, therefore Yesod is also, like we explained, is also a Yud. It's another place where a contraction is needed. And that's why where you want to represent, where you want the Yesod energy, a Yud belongs there. Because of that, the Yud, which is in Shem Ab, this name, which is the gematria of 72, wherever possible, a Yud is fills the letter. Like we said, Hey Yud, Vav Yud Vav, Hey Yud, and that's because Yud is Chachma, and Chachma permeates the whole name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, even as it goes down to through all the spheres, including Yesod, but all of them, and that's where it's permeated with Chachma, and that's the name of Hashem, the spelling of Hashem's name, which is most connected to this Yesod connection as well, which has the mirrors Chachma. Okay, next paragraph of V'yad Dvarim. So you'll notice that vision can take in more than what hearing can take in. With hearing, you can take in either ideas or music or just noise, but you don't get the full picture of what's happening. With vision, you take in all the physical items there They don't have to do anything. The fact that they're there with vision, you can see them and take them in. That's because vision is connected to chachma. It's the whole idea in one glance, whereas bina is connected to hearing, where, like we say, I hear you, can mean either I hear you or I understand you. And therefore, with bina ends earlier, it doesn't get down to the physical as much as chachma. Whereas chachma, as we said, goes all the way down to your side. And therefore, it takes in the whole picture with all the details, even not only what makes sounds, because it connects to the physical more, and goes all the way down to your side, and which shines into Malchus. Next paragraph, v'hinei kashamalchus. So now, when Malchus takes in this what's given over to it from your side, so then the Dalit becomes a Hey. And that's why Hamagbihi, like we said, has an extra Yud, because it's talking about when Malchus elevates from its regular space within worlds into a space beyond, into a space of Malchus, say Malchus within an unlimited godly space. And any time where there's an elevation, it first happens through Hashem starting it off, or at least empowering. In other words, even when we do something with our own avodah, Hashem first inspires us or gives us the ability, the power to do it. So this giving of the power is the Yud, which is given to Malchus, and then that allows it to elevate. Now, this Yud, which is part of the Hey, comes through mitzvah, which is the idea of psila, as the wick, which connects to the light, and through this hamshacha, through this bringing down to Malchus, that allows Malchus to go back to its source. And the mitzvah, what it does is it elevates the nefesh hasichlis, like we spoke in the actual mimer. It elevates the intellectual soul, that just as with Shem Ban, the name of Hashem, which is Ban. In other words, when you spell it out, hey hey, and then hey hey, so hey hey vav vav hey hey. So there, that represents Hashem's light as it is at a Malchus level, at a low level where it's involved in worlds. So Malchus elevates to Ab through the Yud, which comes through a mitzvah. And this is also the concept of, with we know that with Ish v'Isha, man and woman, so Ish is Eish Yud, the fire of Yud, whereas Isha is Eish Hey, the fire of Hey, and that's because the feminine energy involves itself into the physical, into the lower, and nurtures it, whereas the masculine energy doesn't get as involved, but it's a more general and like a high energy sort of without involvement. So therefore you could say it's higher because it's not getting as involved, but on the other hand, it's not with the item or with the person that we're hoping to influence as much. So that's the difference between Eish Yud and Eish Hey. So this so it's the next word after Magbihi is Lasheves, that Hashem elevates Lasheves and to sit. What does it mean, Lasheves, to sit? That when Malchus elevates, the purpose of that is for Hashem to sit. Hashem sitting is related to Hashem getting more involved in something below, like it says Vayeshu Hashem Melech La'olam, that we say in Kapitel Chavtes of Tehillim, that Hashem sits as king. King is about being involved in his subject and in his land. So similarly with Hashem being king, it's about being involved, and that's why Malchus is called Malchus. about kingship is about being involved in the lower that are really below the king. And the purpose is then to be able to impact on the world and even on the physical world. And this is why it says that the only one who's allowed to sit in the azara ein yeshiva bazara ela l'malchus beis bilvad, that the Gemara says that only the kings of David are allowed to sit in the azara in the courtyard of the base of Mikdash. So again, we have the idea of sitting for Malchus, and actually specifically Malchus beis David, which David is the sphere of Malchus as well, and therefore we find sitting with him. The same thing with the Gemara in Pesachim at the beginning. Daf Gimel points out that the Torah uses the word Moshav when it's talking about when people who are tamei sit on something and then they make that impure. So with the man it says Merkav, what he rides on will be impure, whereas with the woman it says what she sits on is impure. Why? Because again, sitting is this idea of descending to be involved in what is below, and that's the feminine energy, Malchus. And we similarly with the tefillin shel yad, that's also Malchus. And there we have a yud in the strap, and this is about elevating Malchus beyond. Now, there's a medrash in Shemais Rabbah which says that the king, when he's going out to battle, he's still standing. They've got some sort of special board or podium that they carry the king on, but he's standing. Whereas when he comes back, now he's not just a king, he's a Caesar, and now he's sitting and relaxing because he's proved himself. So what's this idea that the king is? What does it mean? The king originally is sitting and then is standing, and then he becomes a Caesar, greater king, and then is sitting. That when Malchus receives from high level of king, in other words, when like we in Kabbalah, the word Kabbalistic terms, we would be discussing Malchus of Atzilus, going up to Malchus Ein Sof, the Malchus within worlds, connecting to Malchus as it is beyond worlds. So then the Caesar, the greater Malchus, which is Malchus of Ein Sof, sits, meaning it has to descend in order to give of its light to the lower levels, to Malchus within worlds, and then to go further as well. Because that guides Malchus and keeps it spiritually whole, because sitting is about, when you sit, you put your body down. But you lift your feet above the ground when you sit. You could have your feet on a footstool, like the pasuk says about Hashem, va'aretz hadayim raglai, and that protects Malchus. On one hand, Hashem's getting more involved. On the other hand, lifting the feet that it doesn't go into klippa. So then that's all hamagbihi lasheves. Then we have hamashbili liros, Hashem descends down to see, and that's with Torah, that Hashem gets involved in Shamayim, the heavens, which we like we said is in the Maimer itself is Torah Shebechsav, the written Torah, and Ba'aretz, in earth, which is Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah. And just like the earth receives from heavens because it rains from the heavens and that lets the earth have sustenance and let plants grow, so too Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah, receives from Torah Shebechsav, the written Torah. Like the Gemara will often say, Minani Mili, where do we know this from? To Amakra, because the pasuk says. So that therefore oral Torah is called Aretz, earth, and Hashem descends through the Torah, liros, to see. And this also means, like we say by Alila Regel, that just as they came to see, so too they came to be seen. So liros means also to be seen. In other words, there should be revelation of Hashem within heaven and earth. More than the love of Hashem, which is revealed in the love, the light of the love that the neshama has to Hashem, which is also a light. But this is a light from beyond, which is brought down through Torah. But what we can achieve only through our own reflection and our own thinking and meditation, that is Shema Yisrael V'ahavta. We say Shema Yisrael, that a Jew should reflect and meditate, like we said, that hear means to understand, and then he'll come to a love b'chol meidecha, with all his might. But that's all what he can achieve himself. But Torah is Hashem descending, so that there should be not just hearing, but there should be liros, that we should be able to see Hashem. And this will be achieved fully with Mashiach, where ayin b'ayin yiru. The pasuk says that eye to eye we will see. Okay, so this concludes the first maimer for today. The beer on hamagbihi lasheves hamashbili liros. And in short, what we said is that Malchus receives this yud, extra yud, to help it elevate, and this changes the dalet to a hey. And this is the yud which Yesod gives to Malchus. And then we've got the level of when that happens, Hashem descends. When Malchus goes up, when, in other words, the lower level, the physical or worlds go up to beyond. So Hashem Lasheves, he descends to us coming up to Hashem, or Malchus coming up to Hashem. And so then that's through mitzvahs, but through Torah, Hashem descends himself into the space of limitations and worlds, and that is what we mean with hamashbili liros. And there you don't just have hearing and thinking and understanding about Hashem, but you have revelation to see Hashem. Next, Maimah Kiyataneri Havaya Vavaya Yagichash. So this is another Chanukah Maimah. The pasuk says, "You are my lamp, Hashem, and Hashem will light up my darkness." So what's these two levels of Havaya? It says twice Hashem's name, and the second time it's got a vav, the Havaya. So, like we've been discussing, the pasuk says that Neravai Nishmas Adam, that the soul of a person is a lamp of Hashem. So the soul, as it's enclosed in a body, is a lamp of Hashem, because you have four parts of the lamp. You have the fuel, the wick, the dark light, the dark fire, and the light fire. And all four parts you have in the neshama, and they correspond to the four levels of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. And the four levels, we need to understand what these four levels represent in the neshama, in the soul, and also to understand what was the purpose of the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. Like the Gemara asked, "V'chila ero tzarech." Do we need some light? Is that all the menorah is about? Rather, as the Gemara continues, that Eidos L'Bay Olam, the menorah is there as a testimony to all people of the world, that the Shechina rests among the Jewish people. So the question then is, why is the lamps of the menorah as testimony for the Shechina? Why does those lamps represent the Shechina more than anything else? So to explain this, that let's think about a lamp in general, and like we've said in previous Maimarim, that the fire burns the wick and it destroys the wick. Especially if you don't have any other fuel, then it will happen very quickly. So then the wick will get destroyed, and even in the meantime, while it's burning, the fire won't be so good. But when you have fuel, so then the fire lasts longer, and it's a nice fire. Through the oil, a beautiful clear light comes as well. In other words, not only the dark light, which is more directly related to the wick, but a clear light, a white light from the oil. And then it burns for a long time. And this is just like the neshama, that the neshama, like in the previous mind we said, is like the wick, and then it gets its light from the nefesh bahamis, from the animal soul, And the nefesh bahamis, the animal soul, comes from klippa, comes from the shell which conceals godliness, and specifically from klippa's noiga, which is a klippa, although it conceals godliness, but it's not totally bad. And that's like anything physical that you don't immediately see Hashem. On the other hand, you could still use it for a mitzvah. And the nefesh bahamis and klippa have the same tenseverus as kedusha, and they're interlocked in this battle. And when the nefesh elikis transforms the nefesh bahamis, that it should be included and actually fuel the nefesh elikis's striving even more. So that is the whole purpose of creation. And then we have iskafia and isapcha. We have the subduing, first of all, subduing the nefesh bahamis and the klippa, impurity, and then transforming it to godliness. And just like the lamp itself becomes light, so too with the nefesh bahamis itself, it becomes the fire of Hashem. Next paragraph, achlahavin. But how does this happen? How does the nefesh bahamis, which is the animal soul, which cares just for its physical pleasures, how does it become something which fuels one's love for Hashem and become actually light, that it turns into light, which is effectively godliness? So understand this through looking at Ashrei. And in Ashrei specifically, there's a pasuk, Aramimcha lekaya melech, that in Kapitel Kovmem of Tehillim, that I will exalt you, my God, the King. And this pasuk is explained in two ways, either from above to below or from below to above. From below to above, what it means is I will exalt you, I'll lift myself up to you, Hashem. Whereas from above to below, I'll bring down that romamus, that beyond energy, that exalted energy to us. And then it says, Elikai, my God. The Elikai also comes from the word Elei Haaretz, which means the chiefs, the strong ones of the land. So it represents strength. And David HaMelech in this chapter of Tehillim is saying on behalf of the entire world that the energy that they get in a way of Malay-Kalmim, in a way that fills them, that they're able to take in, is what actually energizes them in their particularities. But it's a limited energy, and comes from Malchus, and Malchus is where Hashem gives to what is outside of him, but it's not his essence. And like we've said in the previous Maimarim, it doesn't affect Hashem himself at all. And that's what we mean, Malchus Elamim, that Hashem's Malchus, Hashem's kingship is the Malchus of all worlds, meaning that all the worlds come from Malchus, but not from the king's essence. It's not from Hashem's essence, but only from his Malchus, on his fact that he's going to rule over others. And this involves a lot of tzimtzumim, a lot of concealment and contraction, in order for the light to be limited, so that it can give each item and each world according to what it can take. And that's why the pasuk immediately before Malchus Kailamim in Ashrei is Leidial Ne'aram Kvaresav, to inform the people of Kvaresav of his strength, and the honor, the glory of the splendor of his kingship. So we've got the concept of gevura here, of strength, which gevura is about limiting and restraining, not fully expressing oneself, and that's the idea of tzimtzum, and that creates malchus, that allows for the concept of malchus to give a limited energy to each according to what it needs, that it should only be a ray from Hashem, not Hashem's essence. And this is the idea of right after Shema, we say Baruch Shem K'vei, which is also about a ray from Hashem, not Hashem's essence. That's why we say K'vod, Shem, K'vod, Malchusay. The name, which name is not essence, it's just what you're called by others. K'vod, honor, is also something about others, and Malchus, kingship, is also about others. And so there's three major tzimtzumim, three major concealments, as the light comes down, and really there's infinite amounts, but three major ones. And So therefore, Ari Mimcha, so because Hashem is really totally beyond, and we only get a ray of the ray from Hashem. So Ari Mimcha, I will exalt you that to come to a love of Hashem with all of our heart, meaning also with our nefesh bahamis, with our animal soul, both our Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara, to transform it to Hashem, that all it should want is Hashem. So this is our mimcha from below up, that to excite ourselves, that to connect to Hashem. Hashem's the only real thing, and we want to jump up to Hashem. And that Hashem involved all these tzimtzumim, all these contractions in order to create us and to give us life. And now we just want to jump back to Hashem. But then we also have our mimcha is bringing down from above to below. The concept is that we say in Barashama, Yachid Chayelam Melech. Yachid, that Hashem's alone, and the life force of worlds comes from Melech, from Hashem's kingship. On the other hand, we say in Yeshabach, that Melech Yachid Chayelamim, that Hashem is the king alone, the life force of worlds. So in the first phrase, we said that Hashem is Yachid, Hashem is beyond, Hashem is alone. So then where does the life force of worlds come from? That comes from Chayelamim, that comes from Melech, that comes from Malchus. Whereas in Yishtabach, we start off talking about a lower level, not pure Yachid, but Melech Yachid. Even when it's beyond, there's Malchus there too, which then energizes worlds. So in other words, it's Malchus within Ein Sof. So it's still Yachid, it's still alone, it's still beyond, but it already has this definition of Melech, of being a king. And that Malchus, it comes down then into to give energy, to give life force, vitality to worlds, and then all the way to our physical world, because the highest connects to the lowest. And therefore Malchus within Ein Sof, Hashem's this concept of other and concealment within Hashem's unlimitedness, comes down specifically to connect to the lowest. And this is the next sentence of Shema. After we talk about our love for Hashem, which is us yearning and jumping up to Hashem, the next step is that these words I commanded you, that Hashem commands you today, should be on your heart. And that's about bringing Hashem down into this world. And today is also an expression of this world, like it says Hayom Lasosan, that today is where we can act, where we still have the regular physical world, and we can act before the world is transformed with Mashiach. And after Tchias Mesim, and it says on Noichi, it says that it doesn't say even a name of Hashem, it says that I command you. I represents the essence. It's without any name, which is only, a name only describes a particular aspect, whereas Anochi, I is the essence. So bringing down essence into this physical world, which only comes in a revealed way in this world. It goes down in a concealed way through all the worlds as it evolves down. But then at the end, in Sof Ma'aseh, the end of action, the lowest level, like we say in L'chadayt, is Machshava Tchila, is in the original thought. It connects Hashem, Hashem's Ein Sof, Hashem's unlimited light. That like a fire, that before it has a wick, there's nothing to hold it, just jumps up and disappears. But when there's a physical wick that holds the fire down in this physical space, so in order for Hashem to come down, we have to do our avodah, we have to have our endeavor of cleaving to Hashem. How do we do that? That's the idea of lighting the lamp of the menorah. What's the idea of lighting menorah? It's that the fire, which represents the spiritual, should be connected and stay with the wick, which is the physical. And this is what the pasuk is referring to later on in Ashrei, where it says Karev Hashem l'chol karev, that Hashem is close to all those who call him, l'chol asher yikro'u v'emes, whoever calls out to Hashem with truth. And truth is where it's the same everywhere. This is like Hashem, that above and below is all the same, darkness and light is all the same, that Hashem is unaffected by creation and by concealment. It's only from our perspective, not from his perspective. And this is also the difference between when in creation we talk about that Hashem created man, but salmeino kidmoseino, in our form. In other words, Hashem says to the angels, let's create man in our form, like our image. So kidmoseino is where there's already a level of concealment. It's not pure godliness, it's only the demos, whereas the tselem, the image, is unlimited, where above and below is all the same. And that's truth, where everything is the same. And that's what we're saying. Hashem is close to through all those who call out to him in truth. So how do we bring this truth of Hashem, this light, beyond the worlds, that it should be revealed in worlds? It's actually a contradiction. So it happens through, and like we've been quoting as well from Hallel, like hamagbihi. We've been talking about hamagbihi l'shavas hamagbihi liros in the previous mimer. So now another pasuk from Hallel, which gives us a key. It says in this short paragraph from Kuf Yud Zayin, that Hashem's kindness is overpowering on us. Which represents a revelation which is beyond hishalshalus, beyond what we could take in or what we could bring down normally. And this happens through transforming the nefesh bahamis, through transforming the animal soul, because even though the animal soul appears to be, and in this world it's on a lower level than the godly soul, but in terms of its source it's really a high level, because it's the animal soul comes from tehu, the godly soul comes from tikkun. And Tail, that world of chaos, is where the spheres, all the godly lights are unlimited. The only problem is that they can't fit in their containers, and they don't interact and mix with the other spheres, and therefore there was a big crash. It came down into this physical world, but essentially it's higher. And this is the kindness which sweetens Gevurah. Because we said that in order for Malchus to come down, there needs to be Gevurah, there needs to be a restraint and concealment, like it said earlier in Ashrei, through Gvurah. But what we need is, we need the kindness to sweeten Gevurah, so that there should be a revelation beyond Tzimtzum. And this is called unifying Kudsha Bricha and Shchinte. Kudsha Bricha is Hashem's light as it is beyond, and Shchin is Hashem's light as it is according to what each world and each everyone can take. So that unification is sweetening Gevurah with Chesed. But just as physically, the wick doesn't hold the fire for long. It needs fuel, it needs the oil. So too we need oil as well. And the oil is the wisdom of Torah. And the oil is the inner part of everything, because like we said, that there are so many different items that all have their own oil, their own fuel inside, right? They mine it from the earth, from the rocks, etc. We have it from olives, but there's many sources of oil, and you can even find oil in stones, fuel more broadly in stones, because fuel and oil is chachma, and chachma comes down into asiyah, and therefore it's present in everything. It's the internal of each item, and therefore, like we said, that chachma goes all the way down to Yesod and all the way down to Malchut. So therefore, it's involved in physical things, and that's why halach and mishnayos, you have Shroim, which talks about the laws of agriculture. Moed is the laws related to the calendar, etc., because chachma permeates everywhere. And this shemen, this fuel allows the fire to burn well and for a long time, meaning that there should be a revelation of Hashem's unlimited light in people down in this world. And not just that it should be temporarily excited, but it's not real and it's not set, but it should be true, meaning that it should be set and that it's like this way constantly, that Hashem's presence is right before his eyes, like in a way that it's unmoving. Like we say that Hashem, Hashem lenegdi tamid, Hashem should always be opposite me. And when a person is in this state, so he has yiras shamayim and the high level of yira that is totally nullified and one with Hashem through the whole time. And this yira, this reverence, is connected to the yud, which is chachma. Like we said earlier, that chachma is about letting Hashem shine through, so it needs to be totally bottled to the beyond. Or with people, in order for an idea to come through, you just have to let the subconscious talk. You can't be actively working. So it's like about bittul, totally bottled, totally nullified to the beyond Hashem. And at this level, we say im ein chachma ein yira, that without chachma you can't get to yira, because this is a bittul which is beyond chachma, and where Hashem's unlimited light can be manifest even in physical items, and this happens through Torah. Like it says that when we learn Torah, that my word that I put into your mouth, that we are speaking Hashem's word. And like we say in Shema itself, that we should speak the words of Hashem's Torah, to bring down Torah, bring down Chachma and this high level of Yira, a state of oneness into Torah. And then from this bittul brings us to Shemoneh Esrei, which we say quietly, which is also this idea of bittul, and therefore we bow in Shemoneh Esrei, which is also the concept of bittul. This is a self-nullification, and that's also what the pasuk means about the talking about malachim in silently and unmoved, not moving their wings. And this is so the original yira is a yira where we have Hashem, which is the highest level. In other words, where we're taking in from the beyond. But then we have a basic yira, which is hinted in the last hay of Hashem's name, yira tata, which is not to rebel against Hashem and go and like disregard his presence, and that is the more basic yira, which is not chachma but malchus, and that's the wick where the fire can hold on to so it doesn't jump away. Then we have the two types of fire, the white fire and the dark fire, because there's two levels of love. Like vahafta, the word vahafta, you shall love, is twice the gematria of which means light, because there's two types of light, two levels of love. The first type of love is hinted in the first hay, which of Shem Havai, and that's the love which is beyond, which is a gift from Hashem that a tzaddik might receive as a gift. And that's the white fire. And then we have the second love, which is hinted in the Vav of Hashem's name, and that's the love that comes through our meditation and reflection on ideas that will bring us to love Hashem. That's the dark fire, which is more directly connected to the wick, which is our own efforts malchus. And so therefore, what we have in summary is that we. After starting off with some questions, we spoke about how the neshama has four parts corresponding to the four letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei. The four parts are the wick, the fuel, the white fire, and the dark fire. And we said that the goal is to transform the nefesh bahamis, to let it fuel our love of Hashem. And we spoke about how there's two ways. There's arimimcha, that we exalt, we lift up to Hashem, which is rotzi, us yearning and having a love and desire for Hashem, and then arimimcha, to bring down that exaltedness into this world, and that's through Torah, and which brings Hashem down into all the different physical items that it talks about. And we explain this in terms of other psukim in Ashrei. We spoke about how this is through an overpowering of chesed, to allow Hashem to be present in the world, and that's Sweden's Gvura. That originally there was a symptom that the light should be just as much as the world can take, but then afterwards Hashem's unlimited light can come in, and that's called the truth of Hashem. And then finally, now we can explain the pasuk, the 4 levels that we've got: the wick, which is Malchus and the basic Yerushalayim. Then we have the highest level, the fuel, which is Chachma, and that's that oneness with Hashem, which is achieved through total bittul, just totally quieting self and just letting Hashem shine within us. And then the 2 types of fire, which are the 2 levels of love. The fire, the love that we can achieve, is the dark fire, and then the higher fire, the white fire, is the fire which Hashem gives to some people as a gift.